WOC family, Laxma here. How are you? I'm turn the volume up here. How are you today? It's been a call day, all day calls. So it's all good though. I've been learning a lot. I was on an interesting call today. As always, every day I feel like I'm on one of those. And it was talking about women and not women in venture, but this woman, powerful woman in venture capital, talking about what do they look for, and when they look when they're investing in companies. And it was very interesting to hear from a woman's perspective how she also is part of a large, powerful angel investor group, which she founded. She's also a professor at one of the top schools in the country, business schools in the country. So it was very interesting to hear her perspective, which essentially some of the things that she looks for, or at least she tried to give us a broader idea of what companies, investors, venture capitals, all of the above who have money or investing their money, what do they look for? And of course, Shark Tank is a very popular show right now on television. So, people are really trying to figure out how to get or where to get their next buck to do whatever they got to do. But it was interesting, I thought, some of the things that she shared, how they and what they look for, particularly from those who are serial entrepreneurs. People are more likely to fund them. And it makes you wonder, right? That's why some of the issues that we have today, whether it's poverty, lack of women in leadership, these are some of the things. So if I have $2 billion today, I want to invest it, and I want to invest that money. I want to make sure that ultimately I get more out of my 2 billion that I'm putting out there. It makes sense to look at those with a track record, to trust them. But I think our mindset, not being able to open to new players in these industries, is part of the reason why you see women. And if you are familiar with venture capital, women, I think, make up less than 10%, minorities and so forth. So oftentimes it's males who are in the front line and getting most of that money. So if companies are thinking that way, then where is room for new blood? Where's our mindset to being open to taking more risk with our money? And I think these are some of the things too, when you think of poverty, women in particular in poverty, and when you look at education, if you have a track record with people who are graduating from Harvard or MIT, the likelihood of you willing to take a risk with somebody who's from, I don't know, let's say UDC, University of District of Columbia, or some other, let's say Maryland, for example, or University of Virginia. It's hard for us to be able to have a bucket that just reflects a certain brand we stick with. So I think the problem stems from us individuals not being more open-minded, taking risk, which I understand, right? If you have your money, you want to make sure that money is secure. You want to keep investing where you feel comfortable, where you know. And if it's from a certain network, that's where you do it. So then how do you spend or expand that network to be able to bring new players? And I think part of doing that is to have more diverse folks coming to that. For example, have more women investing, have more minorities investing, and getting them into that area. Then they'll be able to at least invest where they know they're comfortable with. And another thing I thought she mentioned, which was very interesting, was how they tend to look at particularly those who have a particular domain. And for someone like me who's interested in so much and have done so much, how do you fit into that box, right? In other words, they're looking for somebody with a track record in IT or consulting, or who've been founders. and I'm one with a variety of these experiences, then where do you fit into that box? So oftentimes, I think that's where the challenge, and I talked about this too last video, try not to get your kids to fit in a box. Because, and again, she was being honest, like, hey, we have a business, we're looking for particular groups to fit in that box. If you don't fit in it, it doesn't work. So, but the world that we live in, people are creating boxes and they want people to fit in them so they can make money. So it's important for you to try to create your own box and see if you can fit others into it. But more importantly, I think it's important to try to create, or at least empower people to create their own boxes and then be empowered that way. So it was very interesting. But I think one of the opportunities, and if you look at how the stats out there, it's no secret, more women around the world are poor in girls. Well, it makes sense, right? But then the question is, how do we change that? Yes, it does make sense. If you think about it, women, when it comes to economic opportunities, they're lacking in that area, or at least they're not giving the opportunities, from education to the board rooms in corporations. Even working in agriculture, they are less likely to get paid versus the men who are asking for money. So I think it does make sense. It's no surprise. I don't know why people would be surprised that more women and girls are poor. The question is, how do we change it from the highest levels, at the highest levels, right? If you have a government who's getting money from the IMF every so often, and then the IMF isn't setting goals to have more women in leadership to influence from the bottom, then, these are some of course, that's a policy, and that's a there's a lot that goes into it. But I think one of the opportunities that we have as women is, while having kids, I think it's not only a woman thing, but it's also, I think it's a community thing. But if more women were having kids, I would say, not, well, women are still having kids, but if more women were having kids after the age of 21 around the world, and I've been, of course, my little data that I've been looking at, I think when I mentioned to you guys, what are your pandemic plans? One of my plans have been working and trying to understand some of the solutions around that problem, because it's an area I would love to invest in, and I've been investing in, but I'm ready to take that investing to a whole nother level. So I've been looking at all these factors. How can I best invest in girls so we can help eradicate the rate that they are either getting into poverty and staying in poverty? And I think women in particular, one of the interesting roles that we have is, and frankly is not, we're not using it as much, is speaking up more, right? While you are not in charge in your home, you're not in, and when I say in charge, it's hard. I don't mean it. There are some households where women have absolutely no voice whatsoever when it comes to anything regarding how money is spent in that household. And I'm talking about those. And many in the States don't necessarily have those, but a lot of countries around the world, women struggle with these things. Particularly, I mean, some things as simple as what they eat for a day, a woman doesn't have a say. So I think the more we can have women play a greater role, or at least making sure that they understand the power that they have and the role that they play, can make a huge difference in terms of how they live life. Because I think it really comes down to confidence, right? If a little girl is growing in your community and you don't give them the responsibilities that are I would say unique to them or different from the boys, how do you expect them to do better? If growing up, I was one of those girls who grew up where cooking, cleaning, take after kids, take care of kids, all that was put on my responsibilities. I mean, granted, my parents also made sure I go to school, but the responsibilities I had between my brothers and I were so different. So I'm not surprised why so many girls are either not in school or in school but can't really go far, because their responsibilities given to them up to a certain age limit them. But I think we women have a responsibility in that. We can say enough is enough. And more importantly, government. We have countries helping others, but they're not making sure these bars are set where females have, from a safety perspective, from an education perspective, you name it, at every levels, we have a responsibility to say that, you know what? This country, if we're gonna do XYZ, if we're gonna partner with you, these are the measures in which we will do XYZ. And setting these bars, I think, is one example. But us women too, standing up and saying, speaking up, how frustrated we are, but more importantly, taking small steps, I think is vital. But yeah, why don't you share that thought? Because from, there was a lot I was taking in after that call. I just felt the way, just again, my own little research that I'm working on, and hopefully you'll get to see the fruit of that when I launch it in maybe 5 months from now. So yeah, I think it was very interesting just to think about, when you think about all these issues and the underlying things that cause them to exist today, and we just keep rolling, not thinking about them, which is fine. We're trying to survive, which is absolutely normal. But we have to start thinking and start looking beyond our borders and see how we can just at least speak up, at a minimum, if you can, or at least share your story with someone who can. All right, long video today. Have a good one. Bye.